Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 1. Birth of Alexander the Great. In 356 BC, Alexander the Great was born. He came into the world in the capital of Macedonia, the city of Pella. His father was King Philip II, and his mother was Queen Olympias. According to legend, on that same night, the temple of Artemis in Ephesus burned down. Priests saw this as a sign of the birth of a great conqueror. Do you want to know what he was like as a child? Subscribe and watch the next part. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 2. The student of Aristotle. Young Alexander the Great received an outstanding education. His teacher was the great philosopher Aristotle. He taught Alexander sciences, literature, and the art of leadership. From childhood, the future king dreamed of heroic deeds. Philosophy and knowledge became the foundation of his character. The story is just beginning. Don't miss the next chapter. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 3. The First Victories. At 16, Alexander the Great commanded an army for the first time, crushed a rebellion in Thrace, showing his talent as a commander. At the site of his victory, he founded the city of Alexandropolis. The young heir demonstrated iron will and courage. It became clear he was born for greatness. Want to hear about his first great battles? Stay tuned for more. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 4. The Battle of Chaeronea. In 338 BC, Alexander the Great fought at the Battle of Chaeronea. He led the Macedonian cavalry against the strongest warriors of Thebes. His charge destroyed the famous Sacred Band. This victory brought Alexander glory as a young hero. His name spread throughout Greece. The story continues soon. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 5. The king ascends the throne. In 336 BC, King Philip II was assassinated. 20-year-old Alexander the Great ascended the throne. He had to immediately suppress rebellions across Greece. He acted decisively and without mercy toward his enemies. Everyone understood Macedonia now had a strong ruler. Greater campaigns are ahead. Follow for the next part. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 6. Crossing into Asia. Alexander sets foot on Asian soil for the first time. He throws a spear into the land, claiming it as conquered territory. At Troy, he honors the tomb of Achilles, his childhood hero. This marks the beginning of his legendary campaign against Persia. The world will never be the same after this step. The march of destiny has begun. Stay with the story. The legend is only unfolding. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 7. Triumph at the Granicus. The Persian satraps gather a strong army at the river Granicus. Alexander charges across the river with fearless determination. His cavalry smashes through the enemy lines. The Persians are crushed, and Asia Minor begins to fall. This is the young king's first great victory over the Persian Empire. It proves that he is unstoppable in battle. And yet this is only the beginning. More conquests await. Don't miss the next chapter. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 8. The Siege of Halicarnassus. The mighty city of Halicarnassus stands against Alexander. Its walls are strong, its defenders determined. But Alexander surrounds the city and launches relentless assaults. The fighting is brutal, yet his persistence never wavers. Finally, the defenders set their own city ablaze before surrendering. Halicarnassus falls, and Asia bows to the young conqueror. Every city that resists him learns the same lesson. The Empire of Persia trembles. Continue watching to see what follows. Alexander the Great, Rise of the Legend. Chapter 9. The Siege of Tyre. The island city of Tyre defies Alexander's rule. The sea protects it, and its walls rise high. But Alexander refuses to give up. He builds a massive causeway across the water. After months of fighting, Tyre finally falls. It is one of his greatest military achievements. Message is clear: no fortress can withstand Alexander, and his march continues ever forward. Don't miss what's next. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 10. Victory at Issus. In the narrow plains of Issus, Darius III faces Alexander. The Persian army outnumbers him greatly, but Alexander leads a daring charge straight at the king. Darius flees the battlefield in panic. The Persians are routed, and Alexander claims a stunning victory. the first time Persia's king has tasted defeat. But the greatest battles still lie ahead. Stay tuned for the next clash of empires. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 11, Founding of Alexandria. After entering Egypt, Alexander chooses the site of a new city. It will be called Alexandria. The city is designed to face the sea, to be a center of trade and culture. Here, Greek and Egyptian worlds will unite. Alexandria will outlive Alexander himself. It will become a beacon of knowledge for centuries. Even today, it stands as one of his greatest legacies. History remembers the man who built empires and cities. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter the 12th, The Oracle of Siwa. Deep in the desert, Alexander seeks the Oracle of Siwa. The journey is long and dangerous, but he presses on. At the temple, the priests greet him with reverence. They call him the son of Zeusimon. The prophecy strengthens his divine image among his men. Alexander begins to see himself not just as a king, but as a god. His destiny feels larger than life. But new battles await. Watch what comes next. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter the 13th, The Battle of Gaugamela. Darius III gathers his mightiest army yet. Gaugamela, the fate of Persia will be decided. The field is vast, the Persian numbers overwhelming. But Alexander leads a masterful cavalry charge. Darius flees once more, leaving his empire to crumble. It is the ultimate triumph of Alexander the Great. Persia has fallen. But Alexander's ambitions go far beyond. Follow to see where destiny leads him. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 14, Burning of Persepolis. The jewel of Persia, Persepolis, falls into Alexander's hands. The city's riches dazzled the Macedonians. In a blaze of fire, Persepolis is burned to the ground. Some say it was revenge for Persia's invasion of Greece. Others say it was a drunken act of destruction. Whatever the truth, it marked the end of Persia's glory. The empire of Darius is no more, but Alexander's hunger for conquest remains unbroken. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter the 15th, Crossing the Hindu Kush. Alexander pushes his army into unknown lands. They cross the deadly Hindu Kush mountains. The march is harsh, with snow and hunger haunting the soldiers. But Alexander will not turn back. At last, his army reaches the gates of India. The conquest of new worlds has begun. His ambition knows no limits. The adventure grows more dangerous. Don't miss what happens next. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter the 16th, The Battle of the Hydaspes. On the banks of the Hydaspes River, Alexander faces King Poros. War elephants tower above the Macedonian soldiers. The battle is fierce, the ground soaked with blood. But Alexander's tactics turn the tide. Porus is defeated yet treated with honor. This victory secures Alexander's rule in India. It is one of his most difficult battles. But the journey still has twists ahead. Stay tuned. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 17, The Mutiny at the Hyphasis. Alexander's army marches to the river Hyphasis, but the soldiers refuse to go farther. They are tired, wounded, and longing for home. For the first time, Alexander cannot persuade them. His dream of conquering all India comes to an end. The great king must turn back. Even the mightiest conqueror cannot escape human limits. What lies ahead will test him further. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 18, The Long Journey Home. After years of conquest, Alexander leads his army back from India. The path home crosses the deadly Jadrosian Desert. Scorching heat and endless sands consume thousands of men. Horses die, water runs out, and the army begins to collapse. Yet Alexander marches at the front, sharing the same pain as his soldiers. He refuses to abandon them, carrying the wounded himself. Only a fraction of his army survives the crossing. The price of glory has never been higher. The conqueror is now haunted by the cost of his dream. Stay with the story, the legend turns darker. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 19, The Mass Weddings at Susa. In the Persian city of Susa, Alexander gathers nobles and generals. He orders a grand ceremony unlike any before. Thousands of Macedonians and Persians are married on the same day. Alexander himself weds two Persian princesses, Statara and Parysatis. It is his vision of unity between East and West. But many soldiers feel betrayed by these foreign unions. Alexander's dream of a blended empire is met with silence and doubt. Even glory cannot bind divided hearts. The cracks within his empire are beginning to show. The legend stands at its turning point. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 20, The Death of Hephaestion. Hephaestion, Alexander's closest friend, his other self. Together, they had shared every battle, every triumph. But now in Ecbatana, Hephaestion falls ill and dies suddenly. Alexander is shattered beyond words. He orders immense mourning across the empire. Temples are built, sacrifices made in his friend's honor. He cuts his hair, as Achilles once did for Patroclus. The conqueror of the world is powerless before death. Something inside him dies with Hephaestion. The fire that once burned within begins to fade. Follow for what destiny holds next. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 21, Dreams of Arabia. Even as grief consumes him, Alexander dreams of new horizons. He plans to conquer Arabia and expand to the edge of the known world. Massive ships are built, new cities planned. His ambition knows no limit, even as his body weakens. His generals whisper, some are loyal, others fear his madness. The world seems too small for his vision. But fate has other plans. The gods are watching, and time is running out. The greatest dreamer of history stands before his final battle against death itself. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 22, The Omens of Death. In Babylon, strange signs begin to appear. A lion escapes from its cage and runs wild through the palace. A man sits on Alexander's throne claiming to be the king. Priests warn him of dark omens and approaching doom. Still, Alexander laughs and plans new conquests. But his health starts to fail, fever and pain take hold. Each night his body weakens, but his eyes still burn with fire. Whispers spread that the gods are calling him home. The end of a legend draws near. History is about to witness his final chapter. Alexander the Great, Rise of a Legend. Chapter 23, Death and Legacy. Alexander falls ill in Babylon. Day by day, his strength fades away. At just 32 years old, the conqueror of the world dies. His empire is left without a clear heir. The generals fight over his legacy, but Alexander's name endures through the ages. He is remembered as a god, a hero, and a legend. His story will never fade. Every empire that followed carried his shadow. The legend of Alexander the Great lives forever. The blood of kings. Alexander is gone, but his shadow still rules the world. For him stood a king who built the foundation of an empire, Philip II of Macedon. After him came those who tore his empire apart, the Diadochi, the successors. Who should rise next in our story? The father who forged the sword? Or the generals who tried to wield it after his death? Tell us in the comments. Should the next season be Philip II, father of the conqueror, or the successors after Alexander?